Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's October 3rd. This will be our chart lesson for today. And we started with a nice trend that really started in the overnight. We had a little spike and channel up, break, new high, and then we kind of started going sideways until a little after 1 o'clock. We had this big sell-off, and the bottom just kind of falls out of it here. So pretty standard day. Nothing too hard about this day. So we'll talk, not a lot of trades here, but we'll talk about them and we'll wrap it up for today. Let's just, let me back out a little bit here. We'll start over here, early part of the day. Again, this is a spike in channel. There's two tiers here. You can clearly see this midline. Price is working off both sides of it. And when I came in, we were right in this area, right in here, just starting to go sideways. But notice there's a new swing low. It's lower than that swing. So you get a first entry, then a second entry. So that's a failed second entry short. We're a little bit too far away from the EMA to want to take that, especially coming off the upper side of the channel. If that's, that's fitting perfectly off that upper side. So, but when it comes back and kind of makes a double bottom and bounces off right off the midline right there with a small bar, I like entering right there. It ended up kind of going sideways, so you might have gotten, you may have gotten a little nervous and skittish and exited this trade. It would have eventually worked out, but it's kind of hard to hold through that. So you may have just taken a tick or two or whatever it gives you. You might have tried to get a little better entry, which it would have come back here. I still don't think that will give you enough to get out. Depends on how your chart looks. You might have wanted to treat this as a failed break higher, but I think you want to wait on a lower high. By the time that comes, you get this kind of a neutral bar, and everything's still really to the upside, and you really don't want to take any shorts either, in my opinion, because the two-tiered spike in channel is still in play. So we're just kind of waiting for something to happen right over here back near the trend line. And we actually get a couple of bounces here, but we're still in this trading range and it's still holding. So you got to wait until you can get something, a little failed break or something close to the lows before you can enter. And you finally get that right here. And if you go long right there, that's what everybody's waiting on, a chance to get in at the right spot. And suddenly it takes off. And you actually make a new low here, so there's another failed second entry short here, and we just come back off the key entry point. With that failure, you would think, hey, we may be going to get a measured leg like this one, because usually you'll get two legs up. And we actually got a couple of legs in this next leg, but it's not quite a measured move. You can see there's your first leg. And then I would have been looking for, and you can see we didn't quite make it. We didn't miss it by a whole lot, but we didn't quite make it. Then we start correcting. You really don't get a chance to really enter this one. There's a lower high here, not very good signal bars. Uh, you might have looked at this as a failed second entry long, because this is really two legs. There's a little bit of correction there. I don't think you want to risk that one, and you just have to sit tight. And I talked about this with a couple other traders. The key to all of this is being able to wait for the right setup, the right context, in the right place. And coming across here, it's so tempting to want to enter, but where the right place is going to be over near this key entry point, or really along this lower key entry point, since we're going sideways in this range now. And you don't get that till here, so you had to just sit here and be patient. And then you got another one here, and then from a little after 9 o'clock, maybe 9:15, you don't get another trade, a really good trade, until 11:30. And that's where traders struggle so hard. They're constantly looking for an entry. And if you're not seeing a good entry, then your best bet is just to sit tight. So anyway, we sell off. There's two legs down, and then you'd figure we'd get two legs up, and notice there's a leg move and another leg up, and then we just kind of went sideways after that. And you can see that. There's one leg, and then there's your next leg. We went a little further on the second leg. And after that 2 legs up, then we just started going sideways. Uh, you actually had a higher low here. You moved, you made a higher high, higher low, bounces off the EMA. It also bounces off what looks like is kind of a thin spots that was previous support here. Now we're kind of swinging both sides up, and then it's acting as support again. And so this is a higher low off that same support line. So you might go long there. I think it's a little bit aggressive, but notice how it pulls back and it gives a double test of it. It gives you a nice bar. Then you can go long, and then it's pretty obvious we're in this trading range. There's no short up here. Unfortunately, it comes back again and bounces once again. And you might have considered going long there. If you did, you might have got stopped out. But again, I would probably wait and see what happens. And then when we make that little break lower and bounce again off that low, you really got another 2 tests in a row. So you might take that one. This one's in, while this bar is not very good, but this one is. So I like going long right there, just to hopefully ride it back up to the other side. And then you get this bar right here. You want to make sure if you enter short here that you got enough room to get out, and you really don't if you go short with a sell stop here. So if you couldn't get in this one by getting in far, with enough room to get out, you got to skip it. I marked it, but on my chart you really don't have room to get out. So if your chart was in a little better and you got a little better entry, or you had a little better signal bar here, that would be a great entry. But if not, you got to skip that one. And I really wanted to make it green, but if your setup looks good, you can get in there. And that's really the only chance you got to catch this one. So if you couldn't get in a little higher, I wouldn't recommend entering right here. And otherwise, you're going to miss this trade. Now notice how tight that channel is, and this is the first break, and notice how strong that is. This is the first break. So you might consider this one, because we're probably going to continue down and make a new low, but you might get 2 legs back to the EMA. So this one's a little bit questionable too. Plus you didn't get a retest of this breakout area right here, which usually you're going to get that. So this is pretty aggressive, just to be honest with you. So I don't know that I would feel comfortable entering that trade this late in the day, but there's reasons to like it too. So, I mean, this is a really strong move. That's the first break. There's a good chance we're going to push down and try to make a new low. The only question is, are you going to get 2 legs back before that happens? Are you going to try a retest to test this breakout area here as well? So you got to consider that. But there's not a lot of trades today. There's actually a failed second entry long right here. You couldn't have got in that one, most likely because it gaps over and just keeps going. It does come back though, and you might consider that one. Basically what happened was we came back to fill that gap, and they came back to run a few stops before they took it lower again. And this thing just kind of continued on lower. And you might have wanted to look at like this as well. There's like a little, you really probably have to play it off that one to get it to fit properly. And you can see there's a little spike in channel right there, and then you get a break and move to a new low before it corrects a little bit into the close. So just not a lot of entries. Now if you did see it this way, you might have considered entering there. That gives that a little bit more reason to want to enter. I'll make it green as well. But it's dangerous entering down here when you've been away from the EMA that long. But when you get a really strong trend, that's not unusual though. So when you get a real strong trend, you got to take what it gives you. But just going back, since this is such a quick chart lesson, one was yesterday too. So I wanted to talk about going back to, we look for these patterns, but just make sure you understand that we're not pattern traders. We want the context to agree with the pattern, and then we take the trade. Otherwise, I mean, that's the great thing about understanding how to read a chart and understanding price action, is that you're not locked into just looking for the pattern and taking it every time and hoping for the best. Because if the context of the price action is wrong, then it doesn't matter if the pattern's there or not. Just like right here, you got a failed second entry long, but you don't want to go short because we're in this trading range and you're going short right into the support. Plus the trend is up, the bias is up. You're still inside this trend line, and you see what happens. It bounces, then it goes down, and then it turns up. So even though there's a failed second entry long there and it broke higher and then turned and went out the lower side, that's a nice pattern there for a short. But the context of the price action is hollering, don't dare take this short, because we're looking for prices to go higher. And so hopefully you understand that. And that's the key to all this. And so just keep that in mind, is that, and then once we're going back and forth here, you got some failed movements in every direction, but all it is we're going sideways again, and it's, you're probably going to get failed second entries in every direction. So the only way to enter here, once you know this is a range, is to buy the lows and sell the highs. And you can see pretty much any one of those highs you could have sold them, but we're still want the price action to be, well, you got a second entry here, but when it starts going sideways like that, we understand and know that it's probably going sideways because there's still a little buying coming in, but yet this is the real key area, and we're probably going to turn down, but you don't know that it doesn't break lower and then run up and run your stops and then go down. So you got to be careful entering either direction out of that stuff. So, but we're looking for it to go down. So if you're going to do anything right here, it won't be long. It's got to be short. And if you're going to do anything down here, it's got to be long, because we're probably going to bounce and go higher. So even though you get a little fake out here, you finally get a second entry right here. And what does it do? It runs right back up, and then it touches that high, and it runs right back down. So look where all your big moves started. Study your chart like this. Where did your first big move happen? It happened right here. And where is that? That's off that key entry point, the EMA and the trend line. Where did the next big move come from? Same place over here near these key entry points, near this trend line, EMA, and this. Now we've added this to it, and look how it takes off. And then you got another nice little move here. It's not a real big one, but you got another move that generated right off that key entry point. And then we're coming down here. Got a nice little move off that key entry point, the EMA and this short-term trend line. Same thing here off the EMA. It's the first break. We're still looking for shorts. You got a nice move. Unfortunately, you didn't get a real good setup. And then we already talked about this. Where does each of your really nice moves come from? And these are short, real small short moves, but it's off this key entry point. We went into this trading range, and really, this was not a midline. This was your trading range. But once we drop lower, you want to look for that measured move location, which is here, and it doesn't matter because it just went right through it. But you really probably wouldn't have had that there, because this is where your trading range was up here. And so this is your key buy point, and this is your key sell point. And of course, I like to have a setup and a signal bar that matches. You'll miss a few trades. This was a nice second entry short, but I didn't like the signal bar. And then when we started stacking up, I was afraid of it. And it worked this time, but next time it may not work. So I am a staunch believer that you want to have good signal bars. Your signal bar needs to match your entry your entry point, unless it's a trap. That's the only time that I'll veer from that. And, I get people that disagree with me on that, but, my experience says make sure your signal bar matches the trade. If you want to test that theory, feel free to. But my experience has shown me that I want a good signal bar entering in the direction so if I'm going long, I want a bullish signal bar. If I'm going short, I want a bearish signal bar. And this is another good signal. Notice that we had a break in a new high, but the rules say, hey, we're probably going to try for at least 2 legs up, and so be careful going short. And this, you would have got burned. It ticks lower and reverses instantly. So if you tried to pick that top, you got burned. If you tried to pick that top, you got burned. finally would have worked here, but you can't risk it because you would have got burned on these first few. You would have got burned there, you would have got burned right here, you would have got burned right here, and then finally it would have worked. But if you lose 3 trades and you only get 1 scalp out of 3, you're not going to come out on the right end of that thing. So just keep that in mind. But hopefully that's helpful to you. Just remember that you got to be patient in this deal. Going back, I got an email, just to share this with you real quick, and the gentleman was telling me that you know, should he go to a smaller chart because he's not patient enough to sit and kind of wait, that he feels it causes him to force him into bad trades probably and things like that. And so he's wanting to know what chart I recommend to go to a smaller chart so he gets more trades. The idea is, I mean, you can't create more trades. There's going to be X number of trades every day. Just like today, there's not many, but there's a specific number. And we can go to a smaller chart and it's not going to create any more extra trades. It's still going to give you these key entry points. And if you get, what's going to happen if you go to a smaller chart, you're going to see more patterns, and more of them are going to fail, and you're going to be over trading, entering too much. So the key is to be able to be patient and to be able to tell yourself, I can't take a trade. And it's really hard to sit here from, what do we say, 9:15 or so, 9:10 until 11:30 and wait on a trade. But that's what you have to do if you want to be successful at this. You got to learn to be, if you're not sure what's going on and you're not getting the right setups, the best trade is no trade at all. So don't force trades, don't overtrade, and follow the rules. If you can do those things, you're going to have a whole lot more, there's a lot better chance that you're going to be successful at this than if you're constantly trying to reinvent the wheel. We've got this down to a science and know what works. We've tested it, we've proven it, and it's not to say that you couldn't tweak it slightly, but you really, by going and trying to go to a smaller chart, all you're going to do is cost yourself more money. You're just going to have more losses. If you can't do it on this chart, you're not going to do it on a smaller chart, and you're probably not going to do it on a larger chart. Just remember what we're looking for, where we're expecting the entries to happen. So look for those patterns and setups where you're expecting something to happen. And if you're unsure what's going on, best trade's no trade. Just skip it and wait till you do have a feel for it and understand what's going on. And some days will be easier than others. And another thing I recommend is if you start to have troubles, don't continue trading and trying to get it back and get even with it, because you're just going to probably throw more money after bad money. What you need to do is get up, take a break, go walk around, clear your head, take a break and walk around the block or go out and breathe some fresh air, whatever you like to do, and then come back and sit down, and you'd be surprised how much more clear things will often be for you. The worst thing to do is have a loss or to not be able to read it well that day and constantly messing up, and then to just keep chasing after it, trying to get it back or whatever. You'll just continue to dig the hole deeper. So get up, take a break, clear your mind, come back and take another look, and you'd be surprised how much often you see, hey, I was looking at this completely wrong. It all makes sense now. So just keep that in mind. But I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.